Rai, we begin as we ended in the cargo bay. Your isolation experiment with the dust worm has been running for some time when we rejoin you. Maybe, I want to say maybe it's been like an hour and a half since the dust worm was transported down here into your sort of makeshift kind of environment, kind of sealed crate thing. I think maybe some of the kind of more sort of casual, I don't want to say hangers-on, but like people came down to kind of see what was happening, especially as you're sort of out of the science labs. I think maybe it's kind of thinned out a little bit down here. So at this point, I think observing from outside of the crate is... Well, Ray will be there, I think, and I think Fel is there. You're picking up maybe a little bit of boredom from her, I would say. She's not getting, like, snarkier than normal, but there's been some yawning happening, and some, I think maybe surreptitious, you'd see her looking at a pad, and you're wondering if maybe this is not... She's just doing her own reading and research while this is happening. But yeah, we find you in the cargo bay, pretty much where we left you. I think probably staring pretty kind of raptly into the cargo container. I will say, in an hour and a half, not much has happened. The ball is sat there. It's still softly glowing. It has the sort of light blue aura around it. The worm is not really moving around that much. It's kind of curled up in the corner. Hasn't really made any moves towards the ball at all. It is sort of, yeah.
Val, how long has it been?
She sort of taps on her pad. 98 minutes and 43 seconds.
This must be what it's like to watch paint dry.
Oh no, that would be way more interesting.
You know what, I'm inclined to agree with you. Okay, let's put a lid on this. This is not conducive to anything.
You don't want to give it another minute? Make it the good old round 100? You never know. Might explode or something.
See, I can't tell if you're being sincere or not.
That's the trick, isn't it?
You see, that's why I like you, Phil. You're mad, but you're also humorous. Let's call it a day there. Besides, we've got more important things to worry about.
Yeah, speaking of, I'm gonna go get dinner.
Yeah, you go and get your dinner. I'll see that these two things are put back in their respective places on the ship.
Yeah, you better make sure Mr. Nippy gets back in his enclosure. I don't want to get in trouble with Murphy, but, yeah, any problems, call the lab. I'm going off duty. She walks away.
Never work with children, animals, space worms, and metal spheres. Words to live by, Ray.
Yeah, I say the worm is curled up in the corner. This is the least active you've seen it, other than when it was shot. Although, did you even see it when it was shot? I don't think you did.
No, I was on the other awaiting.
Yeah, this is the least active that you've seen it.
Right. Yeah, I make a little note to say the most it's been inactive since we brought it on board. Probably not relevant to anything.
Yeah, only that it's as you've isolated it, it doesn't. I mean, it's only relevant in the fact that it's clearly not taking in any energy from the ball at all, because it's not moving at all.
Yeah.
And before it was taking in energy from the force field. When it was on the planet, it was taking in energy from like the high energy particles that were coming through the atmosphere. As you've kind of isolated it in this sort of container, I'm assuming you've done like a kind of Faraday cage thing here to isolate it energy-wise from everything. Without saying, yeah. So as it's not taking in energy from outside, it's clearly here that it's not taking in any energy from the ball, because it's sort of. It seems lethargic and it's not moving around at all anymore. So it's clearly like.
Is it fair to say it's conserving what energy it actually does have?
That would be an interpretation. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got some behavioural information out of from the worm.
Yeah.
When there's no energy around, it can't really do anything, and it becomes a bit more vegetative. But other than that, the ball doesn't really have any effect on it, and vice versa.
No.
Okay, so at that point, I make some calls to have both the creature and the sphere taken back to the biolab and to, was it in engineering?
It was in engineering before, yeah. It just had one of the last done.
And the sphere back to engineering.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It is now, I think, I can't remember exactly the timings we said, but it was kind of getting into the evening because Murphy had gone off duty earlier on. I think it's probably pushing midnight at this point.
Go to bed, Ray.
A mysterious call flies through the ether.
Does that mean Fel is technically going for breakfast?
Who knows what kind of sleeping pattern she's on? She's running on like last time she slept was when Murphy sent her for a nap and stuff. So
Yeah.
she's got her own thing going on here. If you like, we can just sort of fade to the following morning, or yeah, I'm assuming most of you are asleep already or whatever.
Yeah, fully on duty for Johnny. He's not doing anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on then to the next day. It is the 20th of February, 2378 now, and I think we'll rejoin as the sort of morning senior staff meeting is getting sort of underway. So I guess we'll obviously no Johnny there, but we'll more than likely have a Murphy, a Rai, and an Ireela. I think Ray probably, as you were up a little late, maybe, I don't know. I don't want to assume, but I'm guessing you probably have. You're feeling a little bit like you hadn't had a full night's sleep in time before you had to get up for this.
That would be a fair assumption.
Yeah.
I can see Murphy like sliding a cup of coffee across the desk.
Yeah.
Here you go.
You're too kind.
Well, if I was kind, I'd sneak something else in there, but we're on duty.
You definitely didn't cut back on the shots, did you? Oof.
I think the captain walked in at this point. Morning, everybody. How are we all doing today?
Good, sir. Yourself?
I'm good, Murphy. Thanks for asking. He sits down in the chair at the head of the table, pulls out a pad and sort of glances quickly at it. So, we had a bit of a division of labor going on with our investigations here. Who wants to go first? Ray, you were taking the lead on the undersea creatures. What progress have you made on that front?
Well, sir, we now have a flight plan for the shuttlecraft we have aboard the Tenzing to get a more accurate scan of the oceanic area surrounding the coast where my away team set down the other day.
Commander T'Lyn sort of leans forward as you say this to sort of catch your attention. Commander, if you make your flight plan available to me, I will review it and make sure it is passed on to the appropriate flight controllers.
Should be available to you now, Commander.
Thank you. I will review it. The captain sort of gives you a nod as if to sort of say, okay, go on.
So by now, everyone has either heard about or read the report of the creature that myself and Baraka saw on the away mission. And the telemetry we've got from orbit of the oceanic area surrounding where the away team landed doesn't give us a lot of detail. What we do know is that creature definitely survived the fall from the cliff, which means logically it must have some kind of dwelling below the surface. So what we're going to do is take all of the shuttlecraft and we're going to form a grid pattern and take scans, intervals of 5 to 10 meters. They will then turn themselves around and head in the other direction. The plan being that all the sensors together will give us a deeper look at what's below the surface. We'll be looking for signs of habitats, signs of structures, living creatures, flora and fauna, and also any signs of previous civilization. Bearing in mind the ruins that were seen by the other away team, I think we should also be on the lookout for any older signs of ruins down below the ocean floor. Or on the ocean floor, rather.
Okay, sounds like you've taken into account all the variables, Commander. Are you going to be taking part in the flight yourself, or directing things from up here on the Tenzing?
I think it'd be better for me to direct from the ship, and let the shuttlecraft crews do their thing. And we'll map everything to what stellar cartography and scans we already have from orbit, and see if we can match things up with what the data we already have. Once we've got a clear picture of what's down there, we can consider the next steps.
Okay, well, you've got the go-ahead from me. Let's find out what's down there.
Aye, sir.
He scrolls back down on his pad once again. Okay, Murphy, you were taking the lead on that sphere that was found on the surface, weren't you? Where are we on that?
Well, working with engineering, we found that the sphere actually has the same composition as the creature's scales. It shares one of the minerals we found in the creature's scales. So after feeding it energy, it seemed to activate, but nothing so far to indicate anything else yet.
Okay, well, that's still progress, I guess. Has it been down in engineering this whole time, or have you been able to run any other tests on it?
No, I called down Fel, and working with Rai, they took it to see if the creature would interact with it, but so far, Rai, nothing?
Nothing conclusive. In various environments, we put the worm and the sphere together, and the theory I had about them sharing an energy signature or having some kind of connection through that mineral that was discovered hasn't panned anything out.
Well, keep at it. We don't really know what this stuff does, so test whatever theories you have. Commander T'Lyn sort of leans forward once again at this. Captain, if I may, Commander Rai, I do not believe that your logic with this particular hypothesis may be correct. Although both the sphere and the life form display energy absorption abilities, it does not necessarily follow that they will interact with each other. To give another example, both chlorophyll-producing plants and solar panels may take in energy from sunlight, but would not interact with each other in any way.
Yes, Commander, I was discovering that for myself in the run-up to midnight yesterday.
T'Lyn turns towards you, Murphy. Commander Murphy, your experiments have shown that the technology can be reactivated using our own power systems, correct?
Yes, but as of yet, we don't know if it powers something or if it's some sort of computing device or anything. None of the scans were conclusive. We tried mapping the grooves on the sphere to any landmarks or on the planet, but nothing came up, sir. Not sure what it was used for.
At the moment, it's just a very shiny paperweight.
Little puzzle, sir.
Murphy, after I left, your team found that sealed chamber within the mountain, did you not? If I'm following Commander T'Lyn's train of thought correctly here, maybe it's worth reinvestigating. See if it can be reactivated, just like with the sphere.
It's possible, sir. We might need to take a generator down there and see if we can rig up some interface, but yes, sir, we could definitely try it.
I would advise caution in such a plan, Captain, as we already know that the native life forms are drawn to our energy sources. I would insist on sufficient security personnel being present for any away mission. And yourself to remain on board the ship, Captain, he says.
Agreed.
Pointedly.
Agreed, sir.
Yes, seconded. Those things do also seem to be drawn to high-ranking Starfleet officers.
Well, yeah, you'll get no argument from me this time. I think this is a worthwhile avenue to investigate, though. Murphy, I want you to continue to take the lead on this.
I'll assemble a team, sir.
Good. I'll leave the choice of personnel up to you, of course. Take whoever you need. I think we can fade out there on this sort of morning meeting. It's a regular sort of senior staff meeting, so I think it's probably about an hour or more of kind of general sort of running of the ship stuff. Now that you've sort of gotten the pressing business the more immediate kind of research and investigating out of the way. But yeah, I'll say about an hour goes by, and then the meeting sort of comes to a close. But yeah, Ray, today you are going to be focusing on the flights and the scanning from the shuttlecraft, and Murphy, you have an away team to put together.
I'm going to need some engineers and a security detail.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's follow that thread then. So who are you immediately thinking?
Well, they've already proved themselves very capable in the past mission, so she'll get Johnny and Baraka.
So Johnny and Baraka
Yeah.
with you. I mean, including yourself, that's 3 security people.
I'll probably have another one.
Okay.
Just to even the numbers out, and then Murphy's probably going to head down to engineering and probably pick up Bonge as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah, okay. So engineering...
Well, Bonge has already been working on it, so...
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Carter probably doesn't do a lot of away missions, but if you want to bring him with you, you can.
Or maybe he can recommend someone else.
Okay, he immediately suggests Lieutenant Quiek, who is a Saurian. So if you're taking 2 engineers, you've got Lieutenant Quiek and then some Bonge.
Yeah, I think having 2 of them will be helpful than just the one. Then they can bounce ideas.
Yeah, and then they can do the technical stuff while you guys stand around looking tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch their backs. Keep an eye out.
Yeah.
But I think having 4 security is probably wise. Just so.
I mean, you can. Yeah, I mean, if you're like worried about the. I mean, and this is what Talin had said. The things are drawn to power supplies, aren't they? So
yeah.
Having a bunch of people with guns might not be the worst idea here. You could bring down. Well, we've got the 2 cadets. Johnny's like helpers. Whether they should be on an away mission is another question.
Mm.
Probably not. I probably wouldn't have them down with us. Not if it's there's possibility of active shooting.
Yeah.
I'd probably have someone a little bit more experienced.
Well, there's Ensign Lasciv, who is the Tellarite, who's Bareka's friend. You could bring her along.
Yeah, we'll bring her along then.
Yeah. There's Johnny and the 2 people who've been like giving him evils across the bar. That's okay. Yeah, that's cool. So 6-person away team. If you can bring more people if you like. This is totally up to you.
Would the doctor like to come along, or?
I'm not sure there's much for the doctor to do. If you can think of a reason for the doctor to go, I'll go. But I'm not convinced.
On-site medical personnel in case there's injuries.
Might be a bit of a push to take the head of medicine for that.
Yeah.
And really, all of you can at least do the basics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I think the doctor will probably still be on the ship.
No, that's fine. I'm just going to
He
throw it out
actually
there.
has some regular time, like normal shifts.
Have some downtime where there's not a crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Murphy will, after she's headed to engineering, she'll head back up to her office and call her minions. No.
Call together the minions.
call her staff and give them a small briefing of what they're going to be doing.
Okay, we can just sort of summarize and say the general plan being to take down some power cells or generators or whatever you want to call it, and see if there's anything in the cavern that can be powered up.
See if we can open the door. If we think it's a door.
Well, there was definitely, Bonja was picking up something on his tricorder behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
we definitely want to try and open it at least.
In terms of like equipment then, what do you, obviously environment suits and phasers and power cells. Is there anything else you can think of to sort of bring with you to maybe help with the plan? Or that you just want to bring with you? I mean, this could be, Murphy or Johnny or...
I think she would probably offer it to them if they have any suggestions.
This is kind of out of character because it's more of a technical question, but do we have anything that would approach a sonar that might give us early warning if the worms are coming at us underground? I feel like maybe the tricorders would be capable of this.
I think so. I mean, you've been kind of using them for that previously, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
There's also, I guess you could take that, we could say some sort of like geosensors or something like that. But I think in general the tricorder could do it.
I'm just thinking about setting up a perimeter so that we don't necessarily we don't have to have somebody looking at the horizon. We can have something that gives us an early warning.
Yeah, I mean, bearing in mind you're working in the cave as well, like, so this is up the mountain with, like, the thought here is more going to be like keeping them from coming into the cave rather than like in the village where you were sort of surrounded to a certain degree.
Ooh,
so maybe like
so the idea would be that we put energy dampeners on the outside of the cave that would be siphoning energy on it from anything that approaches, so it would create like an unappealing space for these things to enter, that they would like naturally be disinclined to even try and go at the entrance.
That's an idea. Yeah.
Ooh, that could work. Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. So Johnny pipes up and says, "I've been thinking about the way that these worms operate, and given that they seem to be siphoning energy from things, I was thinking we might want to keep them off our backs. There's some energy dampeners that I've been calibrating to sort of suck away small amounts of ambient energy in the atmosphere. Nothing that'll drain a tricorder or anything nasty like that. But I was thinking we could put them on the outside of the entrance so that we can just keep those things out while we're busy in there."
Murphy offers a small smile and says, "Sounds like a good idea. Let's do that."
Aye, sir.
Bereka pipes up as well. Perhaps we could also place energy sources far from our position to act as lures.
Also a good idea.
Cool.
There we go.
I think that's pretty well covered then. Yeah. Well, no, we're sort of covering both things there. You're putting down stuff that's like, and there's less energy in this area, so they're more likely to not go that way, and putting like ringing the dinner bell like on another part of the mountain or something, or like, you know, you don't really know how many of these things there are, to be honest. You know, so it's sort of, there's a couple of different ways there to kind of keep them away if you needed to.
Yeah, a nice distraction and also a deterrent as well.
Yeah.
We don't want poor Bond getting nommed.
I would say he's looking a little nervous again. Like he thought he was like safely back on the ship. Like it's like, I don't know. It's been a day. You know, it's been a day and a bit. You know. Now, but like he had his first away mission the day before yesterday, and it was a stressful experience for him. And now you've called him in again and been like, "Guess what, Bond? We're going back.
We're back in the building.
Back in the shit." But he's not spoken up. He's not like complained or anything and been like, "Hey, you know, why don't you give someone else a try?"
I don't want to go.
You can't make me go. But no, he's just. I think just because you've kind of you're kind of getting to know him a little bit, and that Johnny especially. I think you're starting to pick up on like, he's looking a little nervous here. He's not really hiding it as well. He's not like it's not like he's not got like a flop sweat going or anything like that. You know, he's not like fidgeting nervously or anything. He just doesn't look happy about it, I will say. That's more what it is, you know.
Yeah, I think at this point Johnny definitely knows that he'd rather be in a Jeffries tube than out in the wilderness somewhere.
Yeah. And that might be specific to this particular planet because of the experience he had last time. But yeah, I think he wasn't. I think the way to interpret it would be like he didn't have a great time on the last mission, and he wasn't expecting to like only 2 days later be going immediately back to the same place, sort of thing. So he's as much as like I think the general vibe is like people like to get out and about. People, you know, and it is kind of a bit of a. I mean, honor's not the right word, but like you know, being selected for an away mission is like a cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
Bond has already had a bad experience on this particular one, so he's maybe not as excited about it as he would have been. Yeah,
it's a little apprehensive.
Yes, but he's not complaining out loud. At least he's I say, look, with you as well. Ensign Lt Cmdr is a Tellarite who we have met before. briefly as Bareka's friend, and Lieutenant Kwiek is a Saurian who the general vibe you're getting from them is that they're just up for the mission and up for this is something a bit different, gets us out of our normal bit, and we're contributing directly, sort of thing. Yeah. So I think then we can say that a little bit of time passes here because you're sort of you're having to prep your equipment, and because you've got equipment that you're taking into the cavern. You've got equipment that you're putting outside it to deter them, and you've got other equipment that you're setting up to basically act as a lure. So I think it probably, there's a little bit of time. I mean, maybe an hour just to get ready and everything, and that includes like suiting up time and stuff. But you can be ready to go after that time, I think. Okay. While this is going on then, so Ray, you, I think you and Talin, Talin being sort of head of operations as well as first officer, she is sort of taking a little bit of an interest in your flight plan stuff, because I think flight ops kind of falls under her purview. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So while she's not like hovering over your shoulder or anything, she's very much she's involved. I think more down in like on the flight side of things rather than the science side of things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure how this would go as a scene, really, because this is more of just like you're taking some time to coordinate flights and stuff. I don't know if there's necessarily anything to kind of play out here in character, unless there was like a conversation specifically that you wanted to have.
Maybe just running the flight plan through with the officer, make sure it makes sense to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we're flying a lot of different craft here.
Yeah.
I mean, the ship has quite a lot of shuttles, I will say.
Yeah. I think last check we had 2 runabouts.
The 2 runabouts, but then 10 other shuttles of different types.
Yeah. We got Type 7 shuttles, haven't we?
5 Type 6s, 5 Type 8s, and 2 Type 9s.
Right, so we're probably going to take... See, I say grid earlier, but in my head grid is 4 points, but we could utilise 6 shuttles between the Type 6 and the Type 8, and then reserve, like I said, I think initially reserve the runabouts to be the ones that actually do the scans in the sort of 5 to 10 meters stretch through the grid, slowly mapping out what we see under the water. 5 to 10 meters is not a big... It's not big, I will say. Like, a runabout is 23 meters long. Yeah, fair point. I think maybe we could just say, in going over the flight plan with the officers who are going to be piloting, which I think includes probably Ensign Sauce, maybe Kataran's one of them as well, because they're both pilots. It just kind of, in kind of hashing out the plan, now that you've brought it to the actual pilots, there's probably some pre-written kind of protocols for this kind of stuff. In terms of like flying like search patterns and scanning patterns and stuff. And yeah, like 5 meters is very close together. In terms of like you're doing an overfly of a whole sea, you could probably space them out a couple of 100 meters apart from each other. Okay, having spoken with the flight controller and the pilots, plan has slightly altered. We're going to use 6 shuttles to form the overall grid. We're going to cover 5 kilometers along the coast and then out into the ocean. Yep. 2 shuttle at either end of the grid and then 2 in the middle, and it will form this sensor grid. Then the runabouts, they'll fly 100 meters apart, but their scans will do 60 meters either side of them, so that when the data comes in, we have some scan overlap, which might help to increase definition of the data. Is that a better distance, do you think?
To be clear, if the runabouts are doing the scans, why do you have the other shuttles there?
The strength and the idea is when you set the grid up, you have a sensor grid. The shuttle sensors will be engaged, and then all the data we get will be bounced off of them, and it will help to create higher definition of the data we get, the image data we get, and sent back up to the Tenzing.
Okay.
Essentially, we're using the shuttles. We're using the shuttles as kind of a booster for the data we're trying to get.
Right.
And we're getting slight overlap because the runabouts will go back and forth until they've covered the entire grid, and the idea in my head is we'll get better definition of scan and we'll see a lot more when it's all said and done, and the overlap will help with that.
Okay. I'm going to say that's an incredible overkill of what you would need to do this. You could probably fly a runabout on its own over the sea and get the scan that you're hoping for. Having the grid of shuttles fly over, especially at the height that you're going, on their own would get you what you need without extra scans being run. I'm just in terms of, it seems a little overly complicated is what I mean.
I take you
because I'm trying to picture the flights here, because you've got 6 of them flying in formation at most 5 kilometers apart, with 2 runabouts flying within that formation and doing extra stuff.
Yeah, so the 6 shuttles won't be flying; they'll be maintaining position, and the entire distance is 5 kilometers. It's not every 5 kilometers there's a shuttle. The entire grid end to end is just 5 kilometers in total. So the midpoint is 2.5. Yeah,
5 kilometers is not that much. It's not that far. And I'm just sort of saying that the sensors on pretty much any one of the shuttles would cover that area quite satisfactorily. And you've got 8 in that area doing the same thing.
It's over. I take your point. In Ray's head, if we are dealing with civilization down there, and if they are well hidden, maybe overkill's what we need to actually flesh out what we're looking for.
I think a booster grid isn't going to do anything here. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from here.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about this as a compromise? Talking to the flight controller and the flight crews, we've ascertained that we don't need to use as many shuttles.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do need to do is increase the altitude and also shut down any extraneous systems and put them into scanning arrays, make them a bit more powerful. And we'll just do it as a standard search pattern using the 2 runabouts.
I think you bring your plan to them, and basically they kind of look at it and say, well, this is... The thing you get back is like, well, they even say, like, Commander, I don't think we need to go as low as this. I think we can get what you need from, in the name of safety, 1 kilometer up. And they they're sort of going over it and saying, well, I think we could probably space out a little bit more, and it would avoid interference patterns in the sensors if we're a bit more spaced out. And okay, they give you a few recommendations. We don't need to go into all the details. They give you a few recommendations.
But that actually does make sense, because you got 2 craft scan the same thing. Overlap might cause problems.
Yeah.
So space them out, higher altitude, cover a further area.
They I think with the altitude thing is more they're looking at it from a safety point of view. If something does go wrong, they are at a higher altitude and have more time to hopefully fix the problem before they hit the surface, as opposed to like, if anything goes wrong, they are already in the water. So that's fair enough. That's a concern that they bring up, and the flight controller, I think, is like advocating for his pilots here, I think, and he sort of makes sure to say, like, well, I'm confident in my pilot's ability. Unnecessary risks on an unmapped planet are maybe shouldn't be taken.
Yeah, Ray's in agreement with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can sort of we can roll into some dice rolling then, if you want to just sort of see how this goes. then, as a sort of representative thing of like over the next several hours, then flights, scanning flights begin. I would assume taking a couple of passes over the whole sea is going to take some time, but it would make sense to do more than one pass. So maybe this is the rest of your day is doing this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So this, and like, you know, you're collating the data, you're coordinating with Tallinn, you're coordinating with Lieutenant Malrek, was it?
Malrek, yeah.
So you're working with two Vulcans here, which I hadn't thought about before.
Lots of raised eyebrows.
Yeah. There's a lot of subtle facial movements here that, and a lot of things going potentially unsaid. But no. So yeah, your day is basically coordinating these flights and collating the scan data as it's coming in, I think.
Okay.
So I think we're going to need to do, just in the name of actually playing the game, let's do a few checks here.
Okay.
I'm going to be using mostly the ship's stats for this. They're broken down systems and departments, so this falls under the con department, essentially. You know, this is a representative thing of like their skill and I think we want to do like a flight check first, I think. Just as a general thing of like how well do they carry this out, and then we can move into the science checks. So I think anyone can really be rolling this.
I'll do the first roll if you want.
Do the first roll. So this, I think, as we're doing flights, this I think is going to be. Well, first I thought engines con, because it's like a representative of a flying kind of scan thing, but not the actual scanning itself.
Am I technically rolling for an NPC, or am I rolling for the ship? Are we treating this as a ship?
Well, I'm treating this as like not an individual shuttle. This is like all of the shuttles together. So you're rolling for the department, really.
Right. Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I'm just trying to think what it would be. I mean, maybe it would be engines con seems like an odd one, but like that's kind of a flying sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because after that,
it seems that would make sense for them actually getting out into the atmosphere and into position.
And how they're handling the flights themselves, and you know, coordination and things like that.
I would say so.
I think then, so this is a DC 11 difficulty. I don't think this is too difficult. I think this is like, you're not asking them to like fly through an asteroid field or anything like that. You're asking them
dealing with qualified pilots.
Yeah, you're asking them to fly in formation. So I think this isn't going to be a particularly tricky one. This is just going to be difficulty 1, which I know is like, I often do these like difficulty 1, difficulty 2 checks, but this is essentially saying like, hey, all you qualified pilots who have learned how to do these things, go out and do the things you've been trained and are employed to do. You know, in so many words, if that makes sense. So difficulty 1 makes sense there, I think. Yeah. Do you all agree? Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So we were looking for 11 and under, and you got 2 successes there. So that is 1 point of momentum.
Lovely.
That was really just to check to see, are there any mishaps during the flying? And the answer is no, these people are good. And you got a point of momentum out of it.
Whee.
So I think I want to do a couple of sensors science checks here. Maybe just to get an overall feeling of like, over the course of the whole day, if you're doing a couple of different... I mean, how many flight passes are you thinking? Because we'll do 1 check for each one.
I would say 2 passes.
Okay.
2 passes, the whole stretch.
Okay. So I need a sensor science check. This is looking at 16 or under, but this is difficulty 2 this time because we are working with the atmospheric interference and things like this.
Okay. So going for the next one. 13 and 8.
13 and 8. Okay. Yeah. That's 2 successes on that. So that is a success. That's the first pass. They get a good solid scan, no issues. And let's go again for the second pass.
Okie dokie. Pass number 2.
15 and a 10. So a little bit more interference here, but still successful, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, because with sensor science, it's like, this is what the ship's built for. And I think that rolls into not just the ship, but you are using stuff from the ship. It's a bit, the shuttles are from the ship. You are the head of science on the ship. Science. That's why I'm rolling with that. So yeah, I think as a representative thing, then this has been a successful day. But this is your whole day.
Yeah, building the data up so we can get a proper look at the topology of the place.
Yeah,
and see what, if anything, is underneath the waves.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so as the pilots of the USS Tenzing's Con Division begin a day of relatively low-level scanning flights across the surface of the small sea, Murphy's away team of Johnny, Bonge, Bereka, Lasiv, and Quiek gather up their equipment, beaming down to the surface, hopefully to unlock the hidden secrets of the mountain. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time on Thursday, March 13th for the next chapter of Frontier, and we hope you'll all join us for that. In the meantime, you can find us at pretendingwithdice.com. There's links on there to all of our social media pages, our Discord server, Ko-Fi page, merch store, and much, much more. So yeah, for now, that's our show. We hope you all enjoyed it. See you next time.